The automatic doors of Liberty Trust Bank slid open on a cold Thursday morning in downtown Portland. Rain came down hard outside, and with it came a woman no one expected to see. Her gray wool coat showed patches at the elbows, shoulders dark with water. Her shoes squeaked against the marble floor, leaving wet prints behind her. She carried a faded canvas tote, worn thin at the handles, sagging against her hip. A young teller named Lauren looked up from her station, then leaned close to the woman beside her. Her whisper carried further than she thought. Security should have stopped her at the door. The woman, Margaret Whitmore, heard every word, but she kept walking forward, her voice quiet and steady when she reached the counter. "Good morning. I need to speak with the branch manager, please." Lauren didn't quite hide her expression. "Ma'am, do you even have an account here?" Margaret's fingers tightened on her bag. "Yes, for 42 years. Someone in line chuckled low. A man in a tailored suit muttered just loud enough, probably here to beg for something. Security moved in then, firm and fast. "Ma'am, you'll need to step outside, please." Margaret didn't argue. She turned and walked back through those automatic doors into the rain. She pulled a cracked phone from her coat pocket, water beating on the screen, and made one call. A call that would turn everything inside that bank upside down. Before we go any further, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click that subscribe button so you never miss stories like this one. Margaret Whitmore wasn't just any customer walking through those doors. She was the founder of Liberty Trust Bank, the woman who opened its first branch in 1981 with a $10,000 loan and a handwritten promise to treat every person who walked in with dignity. She'd built it from nothing after her husband died young, raising 2 children alone while balancing ledgers at the kitchen table after they went to bed. Now the bank had 30 locations across the Northwest. Her name was engraved on a brass plaque in the lobby that most employees walked past without a second glance. At 78, Margaret had stepped back from running things day to day. She'd handed the reins to her grandson David, trusting him to carry on what she'd started. But lately, something had been bothering her. Customer complaints were piling up. Reviews mentioned staff who rushed people through transactions, who judged by appearances, who seemed to have forgotten what the bank was built on. Margaret read those reviews in her quiet home in Bellevue, her heart getting heavier with each one. She decided she needed to see it for herself, not as the founder, not as the woman whose signature still authorized every major decision, but as the kind of person her bank once swore to protect. So she left her wedding ring in the jewelry box on her dresser, put on her oldest coat, the one she wore for gardening, and walked into that branch unannounced, looking like someone who needed help instead of someone who could give it. Why now, after all these years? Why risk being humiliated in a place she'd built with her own hands? And what did she hope to find in the faces of the people she'd hired and trained? Margaret still remembered her first job as a bank teller back in 1965. The break room coffee always tasted burnt. The counters were perpetually sticky with spilled sugar. Her hands would ache by the end of each shift from counting coins all day, fingers stained with copper and silver. One afternoon, a dairy farmer came in, wearing muddy work boots, hat in his hands, asking for a loan to save his operation. The branch manager took one look at him and laughed him right out the door. Margaret watched it happen from behind her window. She couldn't let it go. She found that farmer in the parking lot, poured him a cup of that terrible coffee, and listened to his story. The next week, she approved the loan herself, going over her manager's head to do it. That farm is still running today, supplying milk to half the state. Margaret never forgot how it felt to watch someone be dismissed like that, to see a person reduced to their appearance, their circumstances, instead of being seen for who they really were. Years later, when she opened Liberty Trust, she hired people she saw herself in. Lauren came straight out of community college, bright and quick with numbers, from a family that had lost everything in the recession. Marcus, the security guard, had just come back from 2 tours overseas. Quiet, steady, reliable. Margaret trained them both personally, telling them stories about customers who'd walked in broken and walked out whole because someone took the time to listen. But about 6 months ago, something started to change. Those customer reviews started appearing. Words like cold and rushed and judgmental kept coming up. Margaret blamed herself. Had she built something that had forgotten its soul? Had success made them comfortable enough to forget where they came from? She tested it the only way she knew how, by becoming exactly the kind of person no one wanted to deal with on a busy Thursday morning. David's flight from Tokyo touched down just after dawn. He hadn't slept on the plane, couldn't stop thinking about his grandmother's call. It had been short, calm, but there was something final in her voice that made his chest tight. He went straight to the branch from the airport, still wearing yesterday's suit, tie loosened, exhaustion written across his face. Lauren was at her station, counting cash, humming something under her breath. Marcus stood by the entrance, arms folded, watching the morning crowd filter in. Everything looked normal. Business as usual. David walked up to the counter. "Where's the woman you removed from the branch yesterday?" Lauren barely looked up. "What woman?" "Older, gray coat, carrying a canvas bag." Lauren shrugged. "Oh, her. Some lady in rags." She was holding up the line, so Marcus escorted her out. "We were busy." David pulled his tablet from his bag and brought up the security footage. He didn't say anything at first, just turned the screen so they could both see. There was Margaret, standing patiently at the counter. Lauren's dismissive expression. Marcus's firm grip on her arm as he guided her toward the door. Lauren's face went white. Marcus stood frozen, staring at the screen like he couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. David's voice stayed even, quiet, but every word landed hard. "That woman founded this bank. She built it from nothing. She signs your paychecks. And you treated her like she was garbage." The lobby went completely silent. Every customer, every teller, everyone stopped what they were doing. Then the doors opened, and Margaret walked back in. Same damp coat, same worn shoes, scarf loose around her neck. She didn't raise her voice, didn't make a scene. She just stood there, looking around at the marble floors she'd chosen, the layout she'd designed, the brass plaque in the corner that nobody had polished in months. "I stood at that counter for 12 minutes yesterday," she said quietly. 12 minutes while people I hired, people I trained, decided I didn't belong here. Tell me something, how do you think we treat someone who can't afford a new coat? Someone who doesn't look like they have money in their account? Lauren's hands were shaking. Tears were starting to form in the corners of her eyes. Marcus couldn't look up from the floor. His shoulders sagged. Margaret didn't yell, didn't humiliate them further. She just held out her hand. "I'll need your badges. If you've ever been judged by how you look or caught yourself judging someone else, pause and comment. I've been there. How does it feel?" 3 months passed. The branch ran smoothly under new management, but there was something colder about it now. More efficient, maybe. Less human. Margaret couldn't sleep most nights. She'd lie awake thinking about Lauren and Marcus, wondering if she'd been too harsh. Wondering if there was still something worth salvaging in what she'd seen that day. Then the letters started arriving. Handwritten, not typed. Real words on real paper. Lauren wrote, "I lost my apartment 2 weeks after you let me go. My mom keeps asking why I come home crying every night. I see your face every time I close my eyes. I was so afraid of looking weak, of not being good enough that I made you feel small. I made you invisible. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to fix what I've become." Marcus wrote, "I coach my daughter's soccer team now. First thing I taught them this season was to look people in the eye when they talk, to see them, really see them. I failed you that day. I failed myself. I'm trying every day to be the man you believed I could be when you hired me." Margaret read those letters by the fireplace in her living room, the only sound the crackle of burning wood. She remembered her own mother being turned away from a bank once, years ago, for wearing a housecoat to deposit her father's life insurance check. The teller said she looked inappropriate. Her mother never went back. Second chances, Margaret whispered to the empty room. The following Tuesday, she returned to the branch. Not in her old coat this time. A simple navy dress, her wedding ring back on her finger. She asked David to call Lauren and Marcus. Told him she wanted to see them. They arrived separately, both nervous, neither able to meet her eyes at first. Margaret closed the conference room door behind them and gestured for them to sit. "You hurt me," she said simply, "both of you. But pain can teach us things success never will. So tell me, have you learned anything?" Lauren nodded, tears already falling. "Every single day. I've learned every single day." Margaret slid 2 envelopes across the polished table. "You're rehired. Entry-level positions. You'll earn trust back 1 customer at a time, 1 interaction at a time. But I believe you can do it." Marcus's voice came out broken. "Thank you, ma'am." Margaret smiled then, just a little. "Don't thank me. Thank the people you're going to become." A year later, Lauren became head teller. She trained every new hire herself, and she had one rule that never changed. See the person, not the clothes, not the account balance. The person. Marcus started doing something nobody asked him to do. When it rained, he'd walk elderly customers to their cars, holding the umbrella over them while he got soaked. When someone looked confused or lost, he'd sit with them, help them figure out what they needed. Margaret came in every Tuesday after that, sometimes in jeans and a sweater, sometimes in pearls and a nice coat. She'd sit in the lobby and just watch them work, watch them smile at people, watch them treat every person who walked through those doors like they mattered. One quiet afternoon, Lauren brought her a cup of coffee, set it down gently on the table beside her. "Black, 1 sugar, just how you like it." Margaret picked it up, warmth spreading through her hands. "You remembered." Lauren shrugged, but she was smiling. Some things you never forget. Margaret passed away 2 years later, peacefully in her garden on a Sunday morning. A book of Psalms lay open on her lap, a light breeze turning the pages. She was 80 years old. At her memorial service, Lauren and Marcus stood together in the front row. When it came time for people to speak, Lauren went first. Her voice was steady, clear. She didn't just give us jobs. She gave us back our hearts. She taught us that the way we treat people when no one's watching is who we really are. And she gave us the gift of becoming better than we were. The bank still stands on that corner in downtown Portland. The coffee is still free on Tuesdays. And every single new teller, before they ever step behind that counter, learns the story of the woman in the patched coat, the founder who came back to remind them that kindness isn't weakness. It's legacy. What would you have done in that moment? Would you have looked closer or looked away? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's been judged unfairly, or someone who needs to remember to look deeper. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications, because stories like this, stories about real people choosing to become better, they're the ones worth telling. Thank you for listening. We'll see you in the next one.